to another episode of Historically Marked. This is a Route 66 edition, and I'm standing outside QuikTrip, or QT as we call it back home in St. Louis. I've seen so many QTs around here, and then I realized, wait a minute, I forgot QuikTrip is the headquarters in Tulsa. So, but there is a historical marker based on Route 66, and I'm on Admiral Place, which is the 1926 to, the 1926 to 1932 alignment of Route 66. But there is a historical marker on Cyrus Avery, referred to as the father of Route 66, and also in this video at the end, I'll be visiting his grave at a nearby cemetery. So you don't want to miss out on this episode. Here we go. All right, this is the man widely acknowledged as the father of Route 66, Cyrus Avery. Born August 31, 1871 in Stevensville, Pennsylvania. Now, I did not know he graduated from college in Liberty, Missouri. He moved to the Indian Territory, which, of course, obviously Oklahoma was not a state yet, but he was manager of the Oklahoma City office of the New York Life Insurance Company. And then he spent 3 years in Vinita, Oklahoma, working in real estate. So it was in 1907 he moved to Tulsa and continued to participate in residential development. But then his interests went towards other projects. He became involved with local government, serving on the Tulsa County Commission and the Water Board. And then during the 1920s, Avery had the foresight to understand the potential popularity of the automobile and its impact on commerce, specifically the tourist industry. This is where he joined several transcontinental road associations, and then he was the vice president of the Ozark Trail Association, and then the Ozark Trail Highway, and then it went from a section through Oklahoma and specifically through Tulsa. And then there's more on the back. And that is him holding the Route 66 sign on the back. Avery served as the vice president of the renamed U.S. Highway 66 Association in 1927. But in addition to public service, he was also an entrepreneur, and I'm really sorry for the wind because, yeah, it's Oklahoma. Plus it rained earlier. So the original alignment of Route 66, which is this, traveled west along East 11th Street and jogged 1 mile north along Mingo Road to Admiral Place. At the time it was called Federal Drive. Avery's farmstead was at the edge of Admiral Place, and he also opened one of the new highway's first service enterprises, including a filling station, a tourist camp in the Old English Inn. And just remember, hotels were like the places where rich people stayed, and motels didn't exist back then. No chain motels, or hotels for that matter. So back then they were called tourist courts or tourist camps and inns. But the traffic circle, which we'll visit, surrounds the historic location of Avery's properties long since demolished. And that's where the Route 66 rising sculpture is, by the way. And then he retired in 1958 and died in California in 1963. And right over there is where he's buried, and that's where I'll meet you. All right, now I'm in Rose Hill Cemetery, which is one of the oldest cemeteries in Tulsa and the second largest. So, I mean, it's pretty huge. There's 35,000 people buried here, and finding Cyrus Avery's grave was like kind of a needle in a haystack. But luckily, you know, with a little help from my smartphone and the internet, I had a little help. So I'll go ahead and show you where Cyrus Avery, the father of Route 66, is buried. Here we go. But when you're driving on the car path, you'll see a tombstone with Avery on it, and that's not him. However, he is buried right behind it. He is buried in the ground, and I'm trying not to be disrespectful by standing on his grave, but I thought I'd give it a good shot. So as you can see, 1871 was when he was born, and he lived a really long life into his 90s, and he did live to see the road that he created prosper and become part of American culture. I don't know if it was really intended to be that way in his vision, but sometimes you never know. But he was a very successful businessman, and He was not from Oklahoma. He was actually from Pennsylvania. The father of Route 66. He was involved with improving the nation's roads, and as a major player in regional and national highway associations, he laid out where US 66 would go when it was certified in 1926. And there are some things named after him in this city because in recent years, Tulsa has revived so much. I mean, they've restored so many neon signs along old Route 66. They brought international travelers back, and I mean, it's easy to say Tulsa has done so much better. I mean, state of Oklahoma, actually, I can't leave them out, but and I hope to do an episode on the Cyrus Memorial Plaza, but I thought I'd visit his grave. And so if you are looking to, if you want an easy indicator of where he's buried, because like I said, it's kind of like a needle in a haystack, that's where Dong's weaponry is, where they sell, of course, ammo and guns. So, and I don't know how common it is to have nicknames in this region, but James Hall, the father of Tulsa, is also buried in the cemetery. Just a little random note, and just a couple graves down is a gentleman named James Maxwell, who served Tulsa as mayor from 1958 to 1966. Yeah, definitely worth noting if you're in the cemetery. All right, so right here on the spot is where Cyrus Avery made his first Route 66 fortune. And this sculpture right here is called the Tulsa Route 66 Rising sculpture. So this baby was dedicated not even 2 years ago. It was dedicated July 2nd, 2019. And it's 30 feet high, 70 feet long. It was sculpted by Eric F. Garcia from New Mexico, which of course is another Route 66 state. And it already has graffiti on it. Boo. And this is known as the Avery Traffic Circle, and it's a roundabout. So that's old Route 66 that way, and then old Route 66 that way. And then that way takes you to Interstate 244. So when this was dedicated, Avery's granddaughter Joy was here, and she was very happy to see, you know, her grandfather, his vision, you know, immortalized. And so a lot of people are wondering, well, why is the Tulsa part painted gray? Well, I mean, maybe it was meant to be like a stricken ocean liner, who knows? It could also be viewed as Route 66 sinking. But then again, you know, it's got some good meaning to it, because yes, this is where the first place, again, where Cyrus Avery made his fortune off of the highway he created. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Historically Marked. This episode, of course, was Route 66 inspired, and the man who started it all, the father of Route 66, or the mother road, Cyrus Avery. If it wasn't for Avery, I know it goes without saying, I would not be doing this Route 66 series or this episode. So, hey man, every man has a purpose. So, those are some wise words to live on. So, stay tuned for more Route 66 episodes. I am in Tulsa on Emerald Place. I'm Jason, signing off.